Welcome to Unity of Charlotte, and it's a very good morning for several reasons. One is it's a bright, sparkling day out with the promise of spring, and the other is that we have a wonderful event just following service, and your voice is needed. It is regarding our mission-centric vision and the unfoldment of that, so I know you'll want to join us for that. So in this beautiful morning, I do welcome you to Unity of Charlotte, where our mission is to nurture a deep and mature experience of God through the practice of unity principles. And simply put, we are here to love, grow, and serve. And so I'm Reverend Pat Dre, and I am so glad you're with us today by Zoom or by YouTube. We're going to start this morning by sharing our statement of oneness. So please join me in that. There is but one presence and one power in my life and the universe, God, good omnipotence. And now for our opening prayer. Relax and take a deep, deep breath and let it go. And know that you are in the right place at the right time. And your soul is directing you in the perfect ways. And join with me in knowing that ever so wonderful truth that there is but one life and one divine energy. And that life restores, renews, and flows through me right now. In fact, this life is my life right now. And in this beautiful morning, I know that life calls me forward to experience the very best, the very best. When life flows and I let it flow freely, it allows me to live in security and peace, in a knowing because the divine presence lets its wisdom flow through me. And therefore I live in confidence and trust that I am being taken care of now and always. And I take in this truth at a deeper level. I know that each and every day, as it flows, that I am called to unite with the divine in living life. And when things are difficult, all the more important that I align, that I know from where I came, and I know that which I am made of, the God DNA, and that it flows always. It never stops. It never weakens. It's always there for me. And so today, and in this service, and in this opportunity to join together in the principles that we know to be true, I pay attention to my own spiritual development. I know that this service is perfect for me. It speaks to me. It speaks to the divine within me, and it calls me forth to express that ever more clearly, ever more strongly, and ever more joyously. And in this day, I know and experience the love. It is the love that comes from the one, which is that extraordinary love, that very big love that we know about and we have heard about. And remembering this always, always leads me to the better way. So I am here today in full force, totally open, totally listening, totally belonging. I belong right here, right now, and I belong in this wonderful circle that we call Unity of Charlotte. And by virtue of my belonging, my heart is open, my mind is open, and the wisdom flows. I hold this day precious, and I am deeply grateful for it. And join with me in knowing that this is so, And so it is. Amen. So thank you again for being with us this morning. For those of you that are joining us on Zoom, you know we open a little bit early and have a wonderful conversation, and that we leave it open afterwards. After service today, we will move directly into our town hall with the focus on your voice is needed for our mission-centric vision. I promise you it'll be a wonderful discussion. For those of you that are joining us on YouTube, please like and subscribe so that other people can find us. If you or anyone you know is in need of prayer, please go to our website and click on the prayer link. It is our pleasure to pray for you and for your loved ones. So please stay in touch with us. It is our joy. It is something that's very important to us here at Unity, to be joined in prayer and to help you express in your life to the top of your desires. You can also call Unity's telephone line, Silent Unity, by dialing 800-NOW-PRAY for a personal affirmative prayer. And for our announcements, as you know, the call following service, which I've mentioned a couple of times, our Unity Ladies Who Lunch is a Zoom meeting. It meets on the third Monday of each month, which for this month will be March 15th. The Unity Men's Group will be meeting on the March 10th and the 24th, which is the second and fourth Wednesdays from 9:30 to 11. And by the way, the women Ladies Who Lunch is 11:30 to 1. The Affirmative Prayer and Meditation Group has moved back to Tuesday evenings at 7:15 via Zoom. And please join us for a wonderful alignment and meditation. Dialogues as Service is a class offered by Barbara Rolfe that meets on Wednesdays at a new time from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. by Zoom. The book club is a lively discussion at Unity. We meet every third Sunday at 11 a.m., and that is March 24th. Course in Miracles is every Thursday at 9:30 a.m. via Zoom. So those are our ongoing announcements. I do want to mention that I have a particular awareness of thought as a creative experience, which is one of our principles here at Unity. Reverend Sally mentioned a book a few weeks ago, The Miracle Man. She didn't mention it by name, but it's Morris Goodman, who in the 80s suffered a terrible plane crash and suffered extraordinary damage to his body, but not to his spirit or his soul. And he made a miraculous recovery from that. I just finished the book. I was deeply touched. And I think anything that can remind me in a new and different way of what I truly believe, that thoughts create manifestations, that's an important direction for me to go in. So I'm grateful to Reverend Sally for mentioning that book. It is truly a good read. You can find used copies, but thoughts are very important to us. And here in this wonderful example that was highlighted in The Secret, Morris Goodman talks about his remarkable recovery against any scientific odds, because he walks, he talks, he does speeches around the world about the miracle of his recovery, getting off a ventilator and learning how to walk, all because of the power of thought. I thank you again for being with us today, and I hand it over to our Reverend Jim Fuller for a wonderful service, because that's what he always does. Welcome, Reverend Jim.
I think you can probably see that. I'm going to invite you to read this spring affirmation with me. Together we say, a new life is born in me today. Spring is a time for rebirth in nature and in me. Spiritual rebirth and renewal is an ongoing process in my mind and life. Each time I turn toward my Creator, I am reborn. A new life is born in me today. As is usual, I'm going to move us into our time of prayer and meditation. I often play a little music beforehand. And this time I'm simply going to take us into meditation and then share something musical afterwards. So I invite you to be comfortable where you are, to get comfortable in your seat. I do encourage you to sit upright when you meditate, at least somewhat upright, because part of the purpose of meditation is both quieting the mind and becoming alert, aware to those subtle things that often pass right by us, that we often overlook. So we sit upright, we let our hands and feet rest comfortably on the floor, hands on the lap. We take some nice deep breaths. Feel the air move through our body, the breath, the life move through the physical body. Feel the energy that's present in that body, present right where you are. And then I invite you to very softly close your eyes, very softly, so you can actually feel the gentleness of the closing of the eyes. And feel the breath. And let the breath help the body begin to soften. Eyes soften. Face and forehead softens. The jaw softens and the shoulders begin to relax and go down. And we let the breath find its natural rhythm. And as I like to suggest, we just allow the presence of that breath in our body, each breath, to be the reminder of the presence of life, of spirit, of infinite creation that's present right where we are, right now, in this spot, right here. We don't have to go anywhere. We don't have to imagine anything. For right now, in this moment, in this breath, all of life, all of creation, all that we are is present with us. Infinite intelligence, infinite love, infinite wisdom, comfort, and healing. So let's just take a few moments and rest in this stillness together. Connected heart to heart, mind to mind, in the presence of our Creator. continuing to feel that breath, that energy moving in and through your body and your awareness. Just notice what your state is right now, state of your being, having sat quietly for just a couple of minutes. Sometimes we can feel the energy, the radiant liveness that is present in us and all around us and through us. An increased awareness and an openness to that which is beyond our ordinary day-to-day seeing, even with our eyes closed. In this moment, we are literally united in spirit with each other and with our Creator, with all of creation. We remember that is true for all of our brothers and sisters, our friends, and even the people we don't know. True even for the people that we might judge sometimes. All connected, all held in that loving presence. And so I invite that presence to continue working through us, to continue being in our awareness, and us being in awareness of it, even as we begin to bring this meditation to a close. As we begin to move fingers and toes, hands and feet, to feel the body again a little more clearly. Take a couple big breaths. And when we're ready, just to gently open the eyes. Come back and take just a moment to notice how you feel. That was just a few minutes. Can you imagine what we can do if we really give our attention to it? Well, again, thank you for being here with us. I'm Jim Fuller. I'm your guest speaker for the day, and I'm going to start off before I do my talk by sharing a little music video. Not a terribly recent one, but some musicians that also happen to be Course in Miracles students. The gentleman in the front, Victor Wooten, is a very famous bass player. His brother on the piano to the right is another musician. You'll see one other brother. And the gentleman in the background is James Twyman, a musician, a filmmaker. And one of the things that these guys all have in common is they're all Course in Miracles students, long time. You'll see their families in just a moment. And Victor wrote this little song a number of years ago, and I really like it. And I thought, I need to share this today. So here we go.
Tell you a story, and this one you can repeat. I saw God the other day, just walking down the street, and he said, I have something I want to tell you, something I've been dying to say.
You've been waiting for my return. The truth, I never went away.
I don't care if you believe me at all. I know I saw, and it was God. I said, hold on just a minute. How do I know it's really you? Well, she gave me a simple answer. She said,
You don't, unless you do.
wait a minute. I don't quite understand all this. Tell me, what do you want with me? I'm not even a religious kind of person. And he said,
You don't have to be.
well, I don't know if I'm the right one to talk to. You know, a few of my puzzle pieces are missing. And she said,
I speak to everyone, but not everyone chooses to listen.
well, then tell me how to treat my enemies. I mean, the people I despise. And he said,
The answer will be clear when you see me in their eyes. I don't care if you believe me at all. I know I saw, and it was God. I saw God the other day. She looked like you, he looked like me. I saw God the other day. She looked like you, he looked like me.
well, I spoke to God that day. You spoke to him too. And he said, of all the miracles ever created, the grandest one is you. Now that you've told me all this, can you tell me, what am I supposed to do? And she said,
You may think it's up to me, but it's really up to you.
well, now my eyes are open, and I can clearly see that all the things I paid for in life, I could have gotten for free. Now, I'm going to share with you her parting words that day. You might want to think this one through. She said, if I only had one son, then tell me, who are you? Who? Yeah. Who are you? Who? Come on, y'all.
I saw God the other day. She looked like you, he looked like me. I saw God the other day. She looked like you, he looked like me. She looked like you, he looked like me. She looked like you, he looked like me. She looked like you, he looked like me.
Yeah.
So, hope you enjoyed that. We first saw Victor there when he was playing with Bella Fleck and the Flecktones here in Charlotte many years ago. Many years ago. And didn't know at that point that they were spiritual students, but they apparently long time have been. Let's see if I can get rid of that little thing up there. Don't need that anymore, do we? Poof. Okay. Well, they saw God the other day, but I don't know about you. When I look out and I see the world around me, it often looks troubling, fearful, at the very least, confusing. But what might happen if you woke up one morning and no matter what you looked at, no matter what was in front of you, whether it was a person or a tree or a car or a cup of coffee, what if you saw God? What if you saw God smiling back at you, shining back at you? Not God in the form of some old man with a beard and robes, or God as a smiling Jesus or a Jesus trying to stare you down. But God in terms of divine aliveness, divine life, intelligence, God love shining at you from everything in front of you, even your own reflection in the mirror. Well, that's the kind of experience that mystics often write about. True? I think you've probably heard of that or read about that. They have brief glimpses of it. We can all have brief glimpses of it. The thing I think that makes a real mystic is the person that has the glimpse and the glimpse doesn't go away, right? So this morning, I want to talk about the idea, the thought of God in all things. God in all things. And suggest that being able to focus on that and maybe experience some of that will begin to open up your spiritual experience. The founders of Unity, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, reminded everyone all the time that we are a lot more than people think we are, than what meets the eye. We're much more than intelligent physical organisms. Their understanding of those words in Genesis, created in the image and after the likeness of God, was that we're created of the basic spiritual stuff of God. In their day, they referred to it as spiritual substance. Spiritual substance. Everything, they said, is made of spiritual substance. Today, I kind of think of it more in terms of intelligent, creative, divine energy. Those are words I associate with it. We can see that reflected a little bit in some of Jesus's teachings. If you look at John 14, where Jesus says, it's not me doing this stuff. It's not me speaking to you. It's the Father. The Father is in me. I am in the Father. That divine creative energy in me, I'm in it. And the more we study and the more we explore, the more we begin to notice this spiritual substance, this God stuff, looking back at us, not just from Jesus, but from everything, from all kinds of people and things, and even places that look like empty space to us. In the Psalms, Psalm 139 poetically asks the question, where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you're there. If I make my bed in Sheol, the place of the dead, you're there as well. If I take the wings of morning and settle at the farthest limits of the sea, even there your hand will lead me, and your right hand will hold me fast. If I say, well, surely darkness shall overcome me, and the light around me become night, even the darkness is not dark to you. The night is as bright as day, for darkness is as light to you, God. For it was you who formed the inmost parts of me and knit me together in my mother's womb. It was you who formed the inmost parts of me and knit me together in my mother's womb. That's Psalm 139. Well, I don't know about you, but my human eyes and my human mind do a pretty good job of pointing out to me on pretty much a daily basis the many places where they think God is definitely not present. Here's a partial list. Certainly God or good cannot be present in something like a serial killer, right? Or an abuser, or people who lie and cheat. Or I guess God couldn't be present in things like dirt and rocks and empty space. And as my mind likes to point out, well, what about us? With all of our little unwanted habits, faults, our persistent weaknesses, and our often painful or shameful histories. Of course, God couldn't be present there, my mind says. But unfortunately, what we forget to ask or question when those thoughts arise is, am I seeing these apparently godless people and godless things as they are? Or is my seeing limiting me, my way of seeing, limiting me from noticing the God that's present in everything? A person with mental illness will probably claim to see a lot of things that you and I and other people can't see or don't see. They may claim to hear things that we have never heard and to know things that we know simply aren't so. They may look past whatever help or assistance is being offered them, seeing only their own fears and delusions in front of them. We look at them, our heart goes out, and we say, wow, that's really crazy. That's really crazy. But perhaps another explanation is that they are in some way asleep to reality. I mention that because I want to share a story about a dream I had a number of years back. I don't know if any of you pay attention to your dreams. It's a good thing to do. Charles and Myrtle Fillmore with Unity were very attentive to their dreams and often got inspiration and clarification through their dreams. I don't know if you've noticed, but sometimes some of your dreams are just kind of a rehashing of bits of the day or things you're trying to figure out, or bringing up fears that are going on in your head. But occasionally there are dreams that seem to be showing us something. They feel a little different. They may seem to look different, although remember, there's nobody with eyeballs in there. It's just you. And so one morning, often these dreams, more vivid dreams, show up in the morning when we're in that state in between waking and sleeping. A number of years ago, I had one of those dreams that was clearly trying to show me something. And in the dream, I was looking out a high window, sort of like a little dormer window at the top of a tall building. And I'm looking out through this window, and I'm looking down on a big open area below, a plaza or open area of some sort. And I'm seeing lots of people down there. And I kind of recognize the people, not like I'm naming them, but I know them, I recognize them. And they are acting, unfortunately, like people. They are not being loving. They are not being kind. It's not a hellish thing at all. It's just people being themselves and being self-centered and not being kind to each other and just going about their own business. It was sad. It was sad looking down out of this little dormer window I was looking at way up high down and seeing these people. It was kind of sad. And then as I'm leaning there staring out this window in my dream, an interesting thing happens. I dreamed that I woke up. I was still in the dream, but I dreamed I woke up. And I was still in the same place, looking out the same window, looking at the same area below, and there were the same people there. But what I had been seeing before had totally changed. All I could see in the people was love and kindness and connection. All the troubles that I had been seeing down there were gone because I had woken up. And then I actually physically woke up, and the dream was still very vivid, very fresh, and I sat up on the edge of the bed, and my thought was, how could I have been so wrong about what was going on for so long? How could I have been misperceiving for so long? Well, what might happen if we all woke up and stayed awake? What might happen if we started praying to see not what we're used to seeing, not what we usually see, but the good and the God and the beauty always present around us? I believe it's possible. I believe it's possible. But I believe it takes some intention and attention. Now, often, if we want to have a different way of seeing or being, we'll try working with meditation, and that is an excellent technique. Quieting the mind with meditation is an excellent technique, but I'm going to try something a little different with you today. I'm going to take you back to, it's probably high school physics by now, but I'm going to offer you a science class. Because a number of years ago, a speaker I heard was a scientist, offered some examples that helped me begin to question all that I seem to see around me. He started off by describing to me what an atom might look like. Remember, atoms are the little bitty particles that everything is made of. You, me, the screen in front of you, whatever's behind you. He said, if you would take a tiny green pea, little green pea like you might eat for dinner, carry that green pea, walk out into the middle of a football stadium. We have one in downtown Charlotte, so walk into the middle of the downtown Charlotte football stadium, put that green pea right in the middle of the 50-yard line, okay? And then take some very cleverly trained gnats, just a few, in your hand, and send those cleverly trained gnats off to fly around the outside of the stadium. Now, remember, because this is physics and space and energy, well, the gnats aren't solid, neither is the pea, but they appear to be. But anyway, the pea on the 50-yard line, the gnats flying around the outside of the stadium. Now take away the stadium. So you just have the pea and the gnats. That's what a very simple atom, like a hydrogen atom, might look like. except again, the P isn't really solid and neither are the gnats. That's an atom. 99.9% space, teeny bits of energy. We don't normally see atoms, but we see things that atoms are made of. So if we took that P and those gnats, taking up the space of one stadium, and we replicated that over here on this side with another P and another set of gnats, but we can't get them too close together because atoms never touch. So there's at least a stadium or two between them. Now we've got two hydrogen atoms, a lot of space, right? And we take one slightly larger atom, an oxygen atom. Again, it's a football stadium or two away from these two little hydrogen ones we have. And it has a P that's about the same size as the P in the other one. It may have a couple extra gnats because it's oxygen. It gets extra gnats. We now have a water molecule. Three little energy centers about the size of a pea in the middle of football stadiums with gnats that we couldn't even see because they're so far away, and lots of space between them. That's a little bit of water. Mostly emptiness. Now, let's say we take a really powerful microscope and we look into our physical body, which is mostly water, isn't it? Mostly water. Mostly that empty space. That's what we would see. That's what we would see. Empty space, teeny bits of energy, far, far apart. Far, far apart. Nothing really solid there. It's sort of an optical, I would say, illusion or trick that we see solid here, or we see solid on the screen in front of us. That's what everything in our world actually looks like. Everything. Vast amounts of emptiness, teeny bits of energy. If we reverse the process, and instead of looking inward into things, start looking outward into space, guess what? We find the same thing. Remarkably similar. What we call outer space is 99% empty space. It's a long way to the moon. It's a long way to the nearest planet. Long way, mostly empty space. Little bits of clusters of energy. We call those clusters of energy stars and comets and planets. But remember, those things are also 99% empty space. We live in a universe that the Buddhists would love because they talk about emptiness. They're talking about mental, but we live in a universe of emptiness. One of the things I used to love to do as a meditation was go out in the evening as it was starting to get dark and sit on my deck and just watch it get dark and watch the stars come out and realize how vast it is, how empty it is, and that I'm a part of that. That the attention that is me is a part of that. Looking at things that way begins to help open the mind, get us past what we think we're used to seeing. But there's even more. There's even more. Because in the last decade, scientists have started talking about the fact that, there has to be a lot more matter, a lot more mass in this universe than what they're seeing or what they can detect with their instruments. The popular name for that is dark matter. Dark because they can't see it. But they know there has to be more there, more some kind of substance, because of the way everything that they can see reacts. In fact, they say that perhaps there must be 95% more substance, mass, matter out there than what we can currently see. How about that? So it is true we're not seeing all that's out there. So could that apparent emptiness and that unseen substance have something to do with spirit or God or us? I don't know. Good question, huh? I let all those questions take me back to a place that I'm becoming more comfortable, more familiar with as I go along. The place of being willing to acknowledge that there is a whole lot more going on around us than we have any real understanding about. A whole lot more going on around us. That we are part of a very vast, non-physical creation. And as I like to add, it is orderly, intelligent, and friendly. Orderly, intelligent, and friendly. In fact, you can go beyond friendly. You can say it is loving. The nature of it is love. Mystics know that spending time in that space of not knowing is extraordinarily helpful in opening our minds to new ideas, new awareness, new understandings. Perhaps it can also help us begin to experience the God, the good that is present in all things, in all places. But because we're so used to seeing these fields of emptiness and energy that we perceive as bodies as solid, because we're so used to thinking of planets and stars and everything as solid, we sometimes miss that. We miss that most of the time, don't we? We don't ask questions like, well, who or what is seeing this? Who or what is sensing this that we're seeing? But like scientists studying either the body or space, we can begin to turn the telescopes and the microscopes of our mind toward the appearances of the world and ask the question, what is this? What am I seeing? What am I? We can begin to consciously question our old models of reality, even our old models of spirituality. We can start lowering the barriers that we have erected that actually keep us from experiencing the God, the beauty, the love that's present in all things. And we can prayerfully invite that underlying organizing intelligence. It's another name for God, right? That underlying organizing intelligence is everywhere present to begin making itself known to us. If Charles and Myrtle Fillmore were correct, and all of what we call creation is made up of intelligent, creative God stuff, spiritual substance, as they put it, and that looks more and more to me like that's probably the case, then that God stuff present with us and in us should be able to inform us in ways that we can understand because we're part of it too. Spiritual teachings from the ancient Hindu Vedas and the Old Testament to later teachings of the Bhagavad Gita and the Buddha to the then teachings of Christianity all talk about an ultimate reality, a God, a heaven that is timelessly true and always present, that lies just beyond the world that our eyes and our senses and our minds are showing us. Not some different place, not somewhere we have to go to or do something to be in, but right here, where these seemingly solid bodies seem to be appearing. My favorite contemporary teaching, A Course in Miracles, comments that we who believe we are separate from one another, separate from creation, separate from our Creator, have attempted many cures to deal with the separations and conflicts we experience as the ills or the problems of the world. The one thing we have not done, it says, is to question the reality of our dilemma as we perceive it. So the Course offers, like Unity, affirmative prayers and readings to help open up the mind to what we might call underlying reality or truth. One of the early lessons in the Course is the reminder, this will sound familiar to anybody in Unity, God goes with me wherever I go. God goes with me wherever I go. Here's part of the reading that goes with that. Deep within you is everything that is perfect, ready to radiate through you and out into the world. It will cure all sorrow and pain and fear and loss, because it will heal the mind that thought these things were real and suffered out of its allegiance to them. You can never be deprived of your perfect holiness because its source, God, goes with you wherever you go. You can never actually suffer because the source of all joy goes with you wherever you go. You can never be alone because the source of all life goes with you wherever you go. Nothing can destroy your peace of mind because God goes with you wherever you go. Compare that with Psalm 139 that I read earlier. Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you're there. If I make my bed in Sheol, the place of the dead, you're there too. If I take the wings of morning and settle at the farthest limits of the sea, even there your hand will lead me and your right hand will hold me fast. Where can we go from that spirit if God is present in all things? Clearly, these teachings are pointing to something beyond the biological or physical makeup of brains and bodies, or about the many objects of the world we see around us. Both teachings point toward a deeper level of reality, one that our physical senses and our present beliefs are causing us often to overlook. To help us open our awareness to that unseen divine, the Course offers us reminders like, God is in everything I see because God is in my mind. God is in everything I see because God is in my mind. You and I seem to be solid physical bodies made of atoms and organs, which it turns out are mostly non-physical energy and vast areas of empty space. Mysticism points beyond all forms toward God, toward spirit, toward consciousness, toward mind, toward emptiness permeated by unseen or not yet seen intelligent life. Perhaps that's what Charles and Myrtle Fillmore understood as the very substance of God. Maybe that's what Jesus was pointing toward when he says, right now I'm in the Father and the Father's in me. As we take time to consciously release our current perceptions and assumptions, to look beyond the projections of our human minds, what might the Father in us, what might the God presence in us have to show us about the God, about the good in all things? Deep within you is everything that is perfect, ready to radiate through you and out into the world. It will cure all sorrow and pain, fear and loss, because it will heal the mind that thought these things were real and suffered out of allegiance to them. Share a little affirmation with you here. I'll invite you to read this with me as I read along. The affirmation says, God is in everything I see because God is in my mind. Together, God is in everything I see because God is in my mind. One more time. God is in everything I see because God is in my mind. Close your eyes and let that thought settle down. God in everything. God in everything. In the people, in the things, even in what appears to me to be empty space. God present in everything because God is present in me. Not just in my body, in my mind, and in my being, because I'm a part of that. And that intelligence, that life, that creative energy of God is more than able to show us exactly what it is, what we are, what we've been overlooking, what we've been asleep too. Join me again as we read that affirmation together 2 more times. God is in everything I see because God is in my mind. Again, God is in everything I see because God is in my mind. Well, that's what I wanted to share today. Hope that's helpful for you. Certainly give you something to focus on. Well, at this point, I will invite you to focus on Unity of Charlotte and our appreciation for this ministry and how it helps us get together and share new ideas and let go of old ideas and encourage and help empower one another. Part of the way we do that is through helping with supporting Unity of Charlotte, because Unity of Charlotte continues to rent space, to maintain the website and the many other things that it does, and preparing, of course, to begin looking for a minister in the not too distant future, we hope. So your donations, your tithes, if you're a tither, that can be a wonderful, powerful practice. I promise to talk about that at some point. Very powerful spiritual practice, changed a lot of my life. And your offerings, your ongoing commitment. Think of them as commitments. Think of them as commitments, committing to supporting this ministry. So we have an opportunity to do that right now, to share of our good with this church. And you can send your offerings to the address on your screen, or simply go to unityofcharlotte.org and click on the donate button. And you can make your offerings that way. And right now, I'll invite us to say together our prosperity blessing for whatever gifts we give. Together we say, joyously I give this gift, knowing the divine presence blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God.